Hello and welcome to my astrology channel. My name is Martine, and if you are new here, I do videos mainly on Vedic astrology, but also use some tropical insights from time to time, and I focus on both natal and relationship astrology. And if you like this video and you would like to hear more content from me, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell to see when I will be posting the next video. And also, if you are interested in a personal consultation, please email me at the email address that I will leave in the video description. Thank you. So today I am gonna make the video like I promised about Libra Ascendant in 2021. So like I mentioned in the first video that I made about Taurus Ascendant, I won't be doing it in the traditional order of the zodiac to kind of mix it up a little bit and even out the playing field by which Aries is always first and Pisces is always last. So as I explained in the previous video, I will be extracting 2 signs every week, and I do plan on doing 2 of these videos, transit videos, per week, so that I will finish by mid-January 2021, hopefully. I just narrowly made it with this video. Technically speaking, it will be Monday for most of you when this video will be posted, but you know, I just narrowly made it. Hopefully next week I will be able to do 2 other videos, and for next week I have extracted Aries and Gemini Ascendant, so those are the Ascendants that I will be doing the 2021 transit video for. Just a small parenthesis without further ado. So like I mentioned in the previous video that I made for Taurus Ascendant, I have divided the 2021 transits into 2 major transits charts, which you will be seeing on the screen. The first one is the one that applies for periods, for the following periods. January 1st, around January 1st to April 5th, 2021, and from around September 14th to around November 20th, 2021. So these are the periods for which the first chart will apply to, and I will also mention that from around September 14th until October 18th, 2021, Jupiter will be retrograde in Capricorn. However, I will not really focus on how this is particularly different in interpretation. There is a slight difference, meaning that when a planet is retrograde, according to Vedic astrology, it will be behaving like it is in the sign that it was in previously, before it went retrograde. So in this case, Jupiter will be in Capricorn during this short time, but it will be behaving as if it were in Aquarius. But I will not focus on that. So I will just focus as if it is in Capricorn in general. That's how I'm going to do the interpretation. So Saturn will be ruling, as you can see on the screen hopefully, Saturn will be ruling the 4th and 5th houses for Libra Ascendant, and Jupiter will be ruling the 3rd and 6th houses. I will only be focusing on these planets, and so Saturn, Jupiter, Rahu, and Ketu, because these are the slow-moving planets. And I've also added Pluto there, although I did mention that I mainly do Vedic astrology. But Pluto in this case just adds more power to this conjunction and adds a theme of transformation, intensity, and hard work, basically. Yeah, so as you can see for Libra Ascendant, these planets are falling into your 4th house. So, like I wrote on the screen, those are the houses that Saturn and Jupiter rule for your particular ascendant. I do use whole sign and sidereal, like I have mentioned in previous videos. And what this shows me is, first of all, if this is the chart of somebody who is still in school, particularly primary school, so a child, or not necessarily, but you know, the 4th house rules primary education, so education up until let's say high school stage. that would be pretty much shown by the 4th house. So if you are in school, this shows me that you will be homeschooled, which kind of seems to be going in hand with the general theme of 2020/2021. You might also want to watch the video that I made about transits 2020-2021 in general, for just more detail on the general vibe. So this is what it tells me. So like if you're in school, you're going to be homeschooled. But what it generally tells me, aside from people that might still be in school, is that your home environment is going to become crowded. So the 4th house rules the home, literally the physical home. It also rules the immediate family, but the home base and the immediate family, basically, those are ruled by the 4th house. And as you can see in your particular chart, it's going to be a crowded environment. You have the 3rd, the 6th, the 4th, and the 5th house rulers are all together in the 4th house. And this signifies, 3rd house signifies younger siblings, to a lesser extent, cousins, neighbors, uncles, aunts, so, somewhat distant relatives. And 6th house signifies pets, and it also signifies subordinates or slash servants, if you have any, if you're rich. Even things like 6th house would also rule something like maids, or people who are, maids or nannies. That can also be shown by the 6th house, because there are people that you employ. And Saturn rules the 4th and 5th houses. So the 4th is your parents, your immediate family, like I said. The 5th house is your children, your lover, your love interest. So all of these things are coming together in the 4th house, which shows a really crowded environment to me. So it could be, I don't know, going on a limb here, maybe it could be that you are gonna be sharing a home with a lot of people, like with your extended family and all this stuff. Or it may not necessarily apply to your relatives. It will apply to the other signification of these houses, which I will go in depth about following. But basically, the general feel, right? Again, 6th house also rules, for instance, daily routine, your work, like I said, also your pets. It also rules your health, especially connected to your digestive system, but health in general. So things like hygiene, anything that you do to actually take care of your body is shown by the 6th house. So including things like workout routine, if you have any, and your diet, definitely shown by the 6th house. So these are going to influence your 4th house. So your daily routine is somehow going to be connected to your home, which could, again, this kind of leads me to believe that you are mostly going to be a homebody this year. So, or at least the home, it will become the center of your attention this year, especially for chart number 1, so for the periods that I have mentioned before and that you can see on the screen. But in general, because Saturn is going to stay in Capricorn throughout the year. So, and Saturn is going to be strong in Capricorn in its own sign. And it will fall into your 4th house throughout the year. So this shows me that there will be a strong emphasis of responsibility towards the home environment this year. It could also show me that you will become more minimalist, or like somehow your home, I don't want to spread like fear or something, but it could show that your home will become more barren, literally, especially when Jupiter will not be in the 4th house. While Jupiter is there, Jupiter will still give some benefic results, will tone down the harshness of Saturn. But considering the fact that Jupiter is also in Capricorn, it will not help too much. Saturn will still have the upper hand, because Jupiter also is being hurt by Saturn, also being in Capricorn. But basically, this is what it leads me to believe. So either because you are forced, either because you suddenly realize this, you will try to transform your home environment and make it more practical and more sort of about the bare necessities, not so much about embellishments or too much lavish expenses, too much of a lavish interior. So either, again, whether this is by circumstance or whether it's because you realize that you have too many things and you want to declutter and become more minimalist, I can't really see that. And of course, a lot of this, again, as I have mentioned in previous videos about transits, a lot of this will depend based on your Mahadasha, your Antardasha, and things like Ashtaka and all this stuff. These are things that have to do with each individual chart, and they have to be calculated based on time of birth, place of birth, and all of those things. So these are generalized transits. But this is what I can see. So there will be a general theme of kind of decluttering or somehow transforming your environment. It can also show me that you will become more traditionalist, and when this is applied to the 4th house, it could be, again, that either it could be that you feel a need to bring elements of your cultural background and even your religion, like the religion of your family, will somehow affect the home environment more this year. So you will kind of go back to tradition, and this will particularly affect your home life. Literally, it could be the physical decorations of your home, or it could be the way that you deal with your family, or not just your immediate family, because, as I mentioned before, in your case, all of these different people in your life are going to be intersecting this year and coming together into your 4th house. So in your case, it will also be your siblings, your neighbors, your particularly your children, even your pets. So I'm not sure how your outlook on it. Well, I guess there could be ways in which your traditions will somehow affect your relationship with your pets. But yeah, this is pretty much what I see. So overall, it's something about transformation. Like, the theme is pretty strong there because there's also Pluto in the 4th house. And I made notes. Yeah, so there's like I said, there's a sense of crowdedness there connected to the 4th house. Like, somehow there's going to be a lot of stuff on your altogether, people will be coming in and making you feel like you don't have too much privacy. So, like I said, if you are in school, your siblings and your relatives can somehow help with your primary education. You will definitely feel extra responsibility connected, not just to your family, but particularly to your mother or any kind of mother figure. And also, this is a year that can, well, again, I do not want to spread fear or anything, but this is a possible interpretation, is that something could be affecting your mother's health. So, or your mother figure's health. So, if there is any reason to think that this might happen, you might want to, make sure everything, just work and do anything in your power to, attend to the issue, and do not delay it, and don't ignore it. That's the bottom line. Because Saturn in Capricorn Saturn is a harsh taskmaster, and in Capricorn, it will make you work really hard to overcome obstacles, and it will also throw obstacles in your path. But as long as you are disciplined and transparent and hardworking, you really will come on top. You know, we will be triumphant no matter what obstacles and no matter what delays and frustrations are being thrown in your path. Which again leads me to believe, if you are still in school, this could be that you will face obstacles and delays with completing your education. So you need to work really hard to focus, which again I think can be generally interpreted for most kids in this year or the following year, since there will be, at least for a few months, this theme of having to study from home. So there will be a lot more distractions. There will be, it will be more difficult for you to focus on continuing your studies, but you need to focus on that. That's pretty much what the message is. So, aside from that, your family. So another possible interpretation is that your family will be undergoing some kind of transformation. Your family could, again, if you are somebody who is still in school and you're living with your parents, your parents could become more strict and more traditional this year, and more of a harsh disciplinarian kind of parent. There will be more sternness in the home. And like I mentioned before, to do with minimalism, there will be a decluttering. There will be again, this could be either by circumstance, or it could be because you suddenly realize that you need to stop wasting too much money on maybe decorum or souvenirs, or so there will be this need to reduce the clutter in your environment. And also, as you can see in the chart, Rahu is in the 8th house, Ketu is in the 2nd house for you. And this will stay throughout the year of 2021. Ketu in Scorpio. So Ketu is particularly strong in Scorpio, and it falls in your 2nd house. And this kind of gives me a continued theme of extra responsibilities and difficulties regarding the family environment. Unfortunately, again, I do not want to be the bearer of bad news, but Ketu in the 2nd could also mean some kind of loss of wealth, particularly for this chart, for the chart number 1 period, because in the 2nd chart, I think, no, pretty much throughout the year. So you need to, I'm not even sure. Again, this really depends on things like Antardasha or Mahadasha, because Ketu in the 2nd house will show a tendency for you to experience some kind of a loss with regards to wealth, but unless this is also kind of reinforced by the Mahadasha and Antardasha, or personal conjunctions and yogas in your chart, it will not materialize. So it will not necessarily impact you, or it will impact you in a very small manner. It's definitely not necessary. And of course, without having to mention, this chart also will have to depend on what other planets you have here, and how those planets and where they fall, and how strong they are and all that stuff. But as a general theme, there will be this tendency. So there will be maybe this could indicate, job loss, because it is, a continuing theme for 2020/2021. So, but I wouldn't venture to say that again without looking at other transits and Mahadashas and all that stuff. Another thing that it can show is simply distancing from family. So something will be difficult with the family relations. Either it could be physical distancing, so maybe you are, again, because of the conditions of this year, or next year it might prolong, you are forced to be away from your family, and this will be difficult. You will feel it as an estrangement, kind of either emotionally or physically, from the family environment. And this will maybe make you think that maybe you want to move abroad at some point, but again, this would really depend on other aspects. So, but with regards to Rahu in the 8th house, Rahu in the 8th house shows me that you will be drawn to speculative things. You will be drawn to things like insurance, and be careful if you are thinking of taking out a loan for anything, or again, be careful with the people who are selling insurance, or stockbrokers or anything. So people who are trying to get you to invest your money, be very, very careful with these kinds of individuals, because they might tend to basically bamboozle you and swindle you, because Rahu is the, whatever else it might be, it's also the point that shows deceitfulness and parvenites and all this stuff. And it falls into your 8th house. So this shows me, like, if you're thinking of, for instance, getting a bank loan next year, again, it would have to depend on other transits, but just be very careful with anything that you might be signing, because the chances of getting swindled are particularly high next year. But it can also show me that, on the other hand, you might develop an interest yourself for things like investing, or maybe even getting into banking or selling insurance or something like that. So as long as it's something that is your interest, I would say go for it, but be very careful and get your information straight and do as much study as possible. With regards to aspects, like I've mentioned before in previous videos, so Saturn aspects the 3rd, the 7th, so first of all, it aspects the house that it sits in, but it also aspects the 3rd, the 7th, and the 10th placements from itself. So Saturn will be aspecting first of all, it sits in your 4th house, but it will be aspecting the 6th, the 10th, and the 1st houses. Which shows me that even though you will be staying at home mostly, or at least there will be most of your energy and your work will be focused in the home base, in the home environment. This could also mean, for instance, like a home business, by the way. It doesn't necessarily mean just the family. Anything that is home-based will be taking most of your energy and attention next year. But while you are focusing on this, you are also going to have to focus on your social status and your career. Saturn ruling the 4th and the 5th houses, it also shows me that your education, primary and otherwise, so 4th house rules education until, let's say, about end of high school. 5th house, actually primary education. So I would say 4th house is more up until, let's say, 8th grade or something like that, somewhere between 8th and 12th grades. And 5th house is above that and until graduate degree inclusive. So something shows me like your education or your degree of education will be impacting your status or your social status or your career. So this also shows me that you might want to really focus on improving your education, your educational status next year. Let me think. And also because the 6th house, so Saturn is also conjunct Jupiter, and Jupiter rules the 3rd and 6th houses in your case. And the 3rd house is the house of courage and applying yourself. And it's also one of the business houses. It's the first business house. So this can also show that you are really applying your effort and your discipline and your work, your daily routine will be impacting the 10th house as well. So all of these things, so everything that Saturn rules and everything that Jupiter rules will be impacting the houses that Jupiter and Saturn aspect. So, which are a lot of aspects, which are a lot of houses. They are the 6th, the 10th, the 1st, the 8th, and the 12th houses. It's a lot. It's a handful. This is especially for the first chart, because this is where the Saturn and Jupiter will be conjunct. And to some extent, because Pluto is there as well, you will be experiencing some kind of transformation with regards to all of these things. So, especially what it shows me, the 10th house, the reason why the 10th house is particularly affected is because both Saturn and Jupiter and also Pluto are looking at the 10th house. And of course, a lot of this would depend on what other planets you have in the 10th house, if you have any, or what other planets you have in the 4th house, or aspecting the 4th or 10th houses. That would be interesting to see. But just looking at these placements, at this multiple conjunction of Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, what I can say is that the 10th house will also be an area of particular interest and requiring attention. And that basically all of these things, will impact your 10th house. So your social status and your career will be impacted by your 4th house situation. So your education, also to a lesser extent, your people like your romantic interest, your romantic partner, your children, and also your creativity and your intuition will be impacting the 10th house. So if you're thinking about starting a business, for instance, you might want to go for things that really activate your creativity, because the 5th house is there, the 4th house, which is the house of intuition, and but it also shows me that if you don't have a graduate, so if you don't have education completed up to a graduate degree this year, you will be particularly advised to go after a higher education. So like if you don't have a college degree, this could be a great year to start a college degree. Particularly since you will see that in the 2nd house, you also have Jupiter aspecting the 1st house. So, and for the first chart, Saturn will be aspecting the 1st house. So, this will be a good year for self-improvement, particularly to do with knowledge, because Jupiter rules knowledge. So, yeah. This is what I think, at least. So, because Saturn aspects your 6th house, similarly to Taurus Ascendant, your responsibilities will also be focused on your pets and your daily routine and your servants/subordinates situation. So you will face some kind of obstacles with regards to this. Again, like I said, servants can also mean things like nannies, like maids. So I don't know, maybe the business, maybe the maids that you were employing before now have gone out of business, and you are forced to work harder to keep your home clean. That could be one interpretation, especially since the 6th house ruler, which is Jupiter, is falling into your 4th house. So somehow it brings more everyday work into your 4th house. So, yeah. And it also shows me that you need to be careful with your health. So, and this is a good year to revisit your daily routine with regards to your diet and your exercise. It's particularly important that you impose some kind of daily exercise routine and keep a clean diet, because if not, your health is going to be affected. Especially for you and for Taurus so far. Maybe there are other signs I will see in the following weeks. let me see what else. I have notes. Also, like I mentioned, so Saturn will be aspecting your ascendant by 10th aspect throughout the entire year. Which shows that, again, this is a good year to work on yourself, on your image. You will come across as more serious, more mature. So if you are, for instance, in a situation where you're looking for your first job or looking to, break through the job market, this is a plus because you will come across as more responsible and more dependable. Your outlook on life will also become more serious and more, also possibly introverted. You will tend to keep to yourself more. If you have been more sociable in previous years, you will tend to be a bit more closed off. But again, this would largely depend on other aspects that you have in your chart. And it's a good year to, for instance, lose weight because Saturn aspecting your 6th and your 1st house. So the 1st house is the house of the physical body and the image. So this is a good year to work on improving your image. But Saturn is really going to make you work. So like if you're trying to lose weight and you're going for a crash diet, it's not going to work. Like you need to, this is the year where you are expected to roll your sleeves and create a disciplined routine for yourself and stick to it throughout the entire year. Or pretty much throughout the entire year because Saturn will stay in Capricorn. And if you do that, the chances are very good for an image transformation since Saturn is also conjunct Jupiter and Pluto. And what else? So this is what I could say about Saturn. So focusing more on Jupiter's aspects. Jupiter will be aspecting, first of all, so it sits in the 4th house, it's conjunct Saturn and Pluto, and will be aspecting the 8th house, the 10th house, and the 12th houses. And the 12th house. So it will be also aspecting Rahu, which is not so bad. Because technically speaking, Jupiter aspecting Rahu will cancel a lot of the negative effects that Rahu can bring. So, and which kind of brings me back to that idea of you becoming more interested in things like investments and loans and things to do with finances. So bear this in mind. The 8th house rules anything to do with relying on other people's money. So both the 2nd and the 8th house are money houses, but the 2nd house represents more your physical assets. So like the home that you live in, the your any goods that you might have, including jewelry and every object, physical object in your home. That's more to do with the 2nd house. And it's also your wealth. So whatever wealth is yours, whatever you have in your savings account, that's more the 2nd house. The 8th house is things like, whatever you might achieve through investing, dividends, things that other people owe you. It's also debt of all kinds. So again, this could be, I guess, what some people would call good debt or / bad debt. I'm not sure. I'm still not sure if there is such a thing as a good debt or whatever. But basically, so the 8th house are things, they also rule things like stock market, transactions, or insurance, like I mentioned, or, so any kind of thing that has to do with simply financial transactions, but they may or may not actually be your money. So that's pretty much it. So the 8th house can still show gain, but it has to do more with mixing your money with other people's money, whether it's your partner or whether it's the bank's money, doesn't matter. But it's also called the house of joint assets. So in a composite chart, for instance, it will give a hint to the couple's joint financial situation. So what I wanted to say is that in your case, so I see that for Jupiter will be aspecting the 8th house and Rahu is already there. and Jupiter is also ruling your 3rd and 6th houses. This is funny because it can have two possible interpretations. Again, a lot of this depends on other aspects that you might have in your chart. On the one hand, it shows that there will be an increased desire on your part to focus on these kinds of things. So you might be considering taking on a loan, or getting into things like investing in the stock market and all this stuff, or going for some kind of insurance plan. But on the other hand, it also shows that there is an increased risk of somehow suffering some kind of losses with this area, because the 6th house is there. So the 6th house can also to some extent show losses, and also the 12th house as well. And Jupiter is aspecting both. Did I say Jupiter? No, Jupiter is aspecting, so Saturn is aspecting the 6th, Jupiter is aspecting the 8th. So to me, and Jupiter is aspecting the 12th as well. So, in this period for the chart number 1, okay, the risk of losing from transactions is not so high. So if you are planning on getting into things like investment and all this stuff, this is probably a better time than the second chart period of 2021. You will see when I get more details there, give more details. But one thing that I can say is that there will be an increased desire on your part to get into things like loans and stuff. Because Jupiter is aspecting the 8th, Jupiter is also weakened by Saturn, but at least there will be a higher tendency for a transaction to go positively than it would be in the second chart phase. And also Jupiter aspecting your 12th here shows that any losses that you might suffer in general will be diminished, because 12th house is losses and Jupiter is, well, wealth and goodwill and all this stuff. But again, remember that a lot of this depends on Ashtak Varga. Ashtak Varga is basically a system by which each planet is given a certain score in your chart, and depending on the score that planet has in your chart and the house score, because there are scores given for each house in a chart as well. Depending on these scores, you can kind of see, okay, how much are we talking, because like if Jupiter has like just, let's say, 0 points in your chart, and you see Jupiter aspecting the 8th house, this will not necessarily show me that a transaction will be very, very profitable for you. You know what I'm saying? On the other hand, if Jupiter has an above average score, like, I don't know, 5, 6, 5, whatever, then I will say, wow, like, okay, Jupiter aspecting your 8th house, and if you are, I don't know, if a broker comes up to you and says, like, you should invest in this or that, then I would more likely say, okay, you need to take that transaction, because the tendency for you to actually gain something is gonna be higher. But yeah, overall, I would say Jupiter still aspecting the 12th house means that the losses that you might have. So for instance, Jupiter aspecting 12 means that even if you get laid off from your job, you might get a decent compensation, for instance. So hopefully it will not get to that. But just saying, saying if something happens, especially with Ketu in the second and all that, let's just say. And again, all of this depends on other aspects. So, also going hand in hand with this idea, because the 3rd and 6th houses, this will also be a good year for you to just study about these things. So even if you're not getting into stock market investments, this will be a good year to maybe start out studying about this stuff so that you learn more for the future. And it might also be when you get interested in things like selling insurance yourself. This could also be one interpretation, which, considering the way that the transits are going, this could be a good year for you to start into these things, selling health insurance, selling life insurance, whatever it is, or selling, bank services, working in a bank, getting a job in a bank. This could be a good year for that, especially with Jupiter and Saturn Jupiter alternatively aspecting your ascendant and Saturn aspecting your ascendant throughout the year. It will make you more convincing. And Jupiter, let me see. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So, pretty much the overall feel, remember this, remember to take care of your mother, your family, your mother's health, and basically save money. So be careful, don't squander money, do not go for any kind of quick reach. Be particularly wary of any kind of aggressive salespeople. Don't just, jump in there. And so for the second chart, which I will be showing on the screen, so everything that I said about Rahu Ketu will play out throughout the entire year. Because Rahu will stay in Taurus, Ketu will stay in Jupiter in your Ketu will stay in Scorpio in your second house, and Rahu will stay in the 8th house in Taurus. Saturn will stay in the 4th house and will stay conjunct Pluto, so there will be the overall theme of there will be obstacles and added responsibility within the home environment, connected to your mother figure and your immediate family. Since Saturn is ruling the 5th and 4th houses, the theme of responsibilities connected to your lover, love interest, your children, and your education will continue throughout the year. What is going to change is Jupiter will be moving into Aquarius, and in the 5th house. And Jupiter will be ruling the 3rd and 6th houses, like I said before, because this doesn't change. Will be moving into the 5th house, which is the house of joy, of enjoyment, children, romance. So this, from the beginning, I can say, so the second period, which applies to, if I didn't mention, but you can see it on the screen, applies to the period of time that starts at around April 5th until September 14th, 2021, and from November 20th until December 31st, 2021. Like I mentioned in the previous video, this transit, it will continue. I'm not sure for how long, so it will continue into 2022. But since I'm only talking about 2021, I am going to be limiting myself to until December 31st, 2021. So Jupiter will give you an increased opportunity for romance, and when it is moving in Aquarius. And also, if you have children, your connection with your children will improve. Your relationship with your children will improve. If you are looking to have children, this will be a better period to conceive or to give birth, because Jupiter is the benefic and it is the sign. It also, Jupiter literally is one of the significators of children. Don't ask me why. This is Vedic astrology. But the 5th house, is also the house of children, and it's also the house of games, speculative gains, speculative investments. So things like playing the lottery. So if you have spare money, I would suggest that, in this second chart phase, you might want to also play the lottery or get into minor speculative investments, because I wouldn't advise for somebody to, risk their entire life savings. But, if you want to buy a lottery ticket, this is a good time because chances of winning are higher. And also this will be a better time to focus on studies, finishing your studies. So like if you are looking to finish either high school, college, or a graduate/master's degree, this is the time to do it. Because yeah, again, the 5th house rules education up to that particular point, up to that particular level of education. Anything above master's degree is ruled by the 9th house. So if in your chart, for instance, you also have the ruler of the 9th house into the 5th, this could also be a good period to go for a PhD or something, if you are interested in that kind of thing. Or it doesn't necessarily have to be PhD or master's respectively. It can also be, you know, specializing courses. So for instance, going for even a career change is a good time at this point. So Jupiter ruling the 3rd and 6th houses falling into your 5th shows me that your effort and your work will be directed more towards the 5th house matters at this time. It can also show that pets will bring you joy, that your siblings will bring you joy, that you will be having fun, maybe with your siblings or second degree relatives like cousins, uncles, aunts. Relationships will improve with them. And let me see. Jupiter will be aspecting obviously your 11th house. So Jupiter will be aspecting the 5th, the 7th, and the 9th placements from itself. So Jupiter will be in Aquarius aspecting the, let me see. Will be aspecting the 9th house, and will be aspecting the 11th and the 1st house, like I said. So the 9th house, again, if you also have the ruler of the 9th house, or if you have planets in the 9th house, it's also a good time to go for things like even higher education, like a PhD, or like a research something project, or anything to do with higher knowledge, really. Even something to do with like religious organizations and or philosophy, stuff like that, higher knowledge. And aspecting the 11th house shows that there will be more opportunities for socializing, there will be more opportunities for networking, so a time to expand your network and enjoy friendships and make new friends, or strengthen the bonds with the existing friends. And also Jupiter aspecting the 1st will be a time when you come across as more knowledgeable, more trustworthy, more popular. So your popularity will increase. And so this is a good time, like I said, it's a good time to apply for jobs. It's a good time to go out there and socialize, because you will come across more favorably and more trustworthy than usual. And let me see if I have anything else. Yeah, and also Jupiter aspecting the 1st not just will make you more trustworthy, but it will increase your optimism and your faith. And because of your optimism and your faith, you will attract more opportunities. And not just any opportunities, but because the 1st house is the house of the status quo, this could show that opportunities for money, for making money, will be coming closer to you, closer to where your home is, or your status quo, or your country, which is good. Of course, a lot of this depends on other placements. So like depending on where your Rahu is in your natal chart and all this stuff, I could give more details about this. So this is pretty much it. So this is it, and I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. And like I mentioned, so next week I hope to get to the other two ascendants that I have extracted, Aries and Gemini. And aside from that, if I do have the time, and I hope I will, I want to make a video about the Aruda Lagna, which is the ascendant that you can calculate very easily, and I will explain how. That shows how other people perceive you, and it shows your chances / degree of fame, so your chances of achieving fame and how other people perceive you, and also maybe a comparison between the Aruda Lagna and the natal chart / Karakamsha. Karakamsha being something to do with your inner soul and what you really want out of this life. So if you are hearing this and I don't know, like if you have other topics that you might want to hear that you think are more interesting, but I thought about doing the Aruda Lagna thing for a long time now, and I know that there are other videos that I have promised to make, but I really want to get the Aruda Lagna and the Karakamsha thing going, because it will also help in future charts that I want to do about how to read celebrity charts and how to see what a person is really like on the inside versus how they come across to the outside world. And I thought that this would be an interesting topic. So I haven't even decided yet if I'm going to do like separate videos on Karakamsha and then on Aruda Lagna, but I was thinking of maybe doing about both, but maybe it would be too long. So in any case, if you're interested in this topic, and or you want to maybe also hear about other topics, please comment in the comment section. And once again, thank you for listening. And if you like the video and you want to hear more content, please like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell. And if you're interested in a personal consultation, please email me at the email address that I will leave in the video description. Thank you.